Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So, in one of the recent videos that I made, it was a video about essentially the charm condition and all of the fun, kind of interesting ways you can bring it about for the benefit of you, the player, and the characters you create in D&D. And after going through that video, I thought about it a bit longer, and it kind of reminded me of a little bit of a video that I had worked on earlier, discussing the ethics of necromancy. Y'all really seem to enjoy that, so I wanted to go and actually discuss the ethics of enchantment magic. So first of all, for those of you that don't know anything about enchantment, enchantment is typically a school of magic that allows you to impose charms on a creature. And the charm condition states that when a target is charmed, they can't attack you, they can't target you with harmful effects, and the charmer has advantage on any ability to interact socially with said creature. And now, in a lot of cases, this basically gives you any sort of advantage on being able to persuade creatures, or as it's being shown, any social checks. And now this is something too that can really kind of just help along your specific courses and goals. However, it gets a lot messier the deeper you go into the School of Enchantment. And this is something that I really started to understand as I started to move forward with an enchantment wizard. My first character was actually an enchantment wizard, and as I started to pick up on more enchantment spells, I started to realize just how ridiculous a lot of the spells in the enchantment school of magic are. And now, granted, just because you use the school of magic, that doesn't say anything about you as a player or as a character. Like, even in the case of my wizard, I started to use enchantment magic as my character's spiel because he was more of a pacifist. He would prefer to have a peaceful way to solve conflicts rather than get violent and hurt people. And even too, maybe just having the people that are trying to attack him just start attacking each other and making them realize, hey, maybe this really isn't the best call. So there are some more beneficial ways that you can use enchantment magic. For example, to disarm someone that would cause harm, to pacify a threat. For example, the spell Command is actually an incredibly good use of this. Command states that you can target a creature and then say one word, and that creature will do that word. In this case, going back to our pacify example, you have a bandit that's going in and, holding someone by the throat and saying, give me your money or I'll do this person in. And you cast command on them. Saying something like release or drop can be just enough to give you, the players, an opportunity to rescue that person. Whether that bandit would go and drop their weapon or drop their hostage, suddenly you've created an opening where you can quickly pacify this villain. But then also too, with command, it's this horrifying realization of a character losing complete bodily autonomy for the next 6 seconds as you decide what it does. So yeah, you can be a little more benevolent and just try to do things that are more just generally considerate of other creatures, not take things too far. But then you also have the ability to say some very questionable things that a character would do, such as betray, defecate, steal, and then watch as that NPC in horror, at least I hope that this is being done to an NPC, maybe, if anything. And then you watch as a horrified expression goes over this character's face as they lose complete bodily autonomy, and just follow what you told them to do. And this is where we really step into, how concerning a lot of enchantment magic is. So maybe okay, well, Smiles, that's just one spell. Surely it can't all be that bad. It gets worse. So, for example, you also have such things as the spell Suggestion, which is a spell that will literally go and give a creature an order that they will carry out sometime within a period of 8 hours. And this can be some pretty ridiculous things, all up into the point of it harming itself. For example, the flavor text / example listed within the spell Suggestion states, for example, you might suggest that a knight give her warhorse to the first beggar she meets. So granted, it's not even a suggestion that particularly needs to sound reasonable. It can be potentially as ludicrous as you want. Moving forward with this kind of concept too, you also have the spell Compulsion. So with Compulsion, this is a spell that allows you to take a group of creatures that you can see within its range, and then just have them move in whatever direction that you want them to move in. marching like your little toy soldiers. They can't move where they want to move. So actually, too, this is a fantastic crowd control spell. Literally controlling the position of any sorts of creatures that are on the board. And even, too, it's any creature that you can see within range and that can hear you must make a wisdom saving throw. Comboing this with something like Distant Spell, which then allows you to have this larger AoE that is now out to about 60-foot radius. That can target a lot of creatures, all then marching to the beat of your drum for an entire minute. You also have spells, we're just going to try to lightning round some of these, like Dominate Person and Dominate Monster, which basically do what they sound like. You dominate the will of another creature, and then even being able to extend the duration of this when you upcast it for longer and longer periods of time to impose your will on another creature and basically have them do whatever you want them to do while you're giving them these orders telepathically. So this is very scary stuff. You also reach into something like Chaos, which is a spell that will take a creature, and any time it goes against the command issued by Chaos, it will take a whopping sum of 5d10 psychic damage. For a lot of creatures, that is a death sentence. And of course, you might be thinking, okay, well, Smiles, I know this one. It only lasts for 30 days. You are right. It does only last for 30 days. However, upcasting this spell also increases the duration that Chaos lasts for. So let's say that you anger the local wizard just a little too much. Maybe you egg his house just one too many times. Casts Chaos on you for even just at 7th level. That is what you're going to be going through for an entire year. Or honestly, maybe just a month of your life is just going to be doing whatever the wizard told you to do for a month. You also have incredible spells like Modify Memory, which I affectionately just refer to as I cast Gaslight. Because what this spell does is basically, once again, how it sounds. It allows you to take a creature's memory of an event and bend it to what you want it to be. And the spell too states like, oh, well, you just can't go and make a creature just remember something completely ridiculous. It talks about how part of the spell is going to mix the memory that you left there with logical jumps for that creature to follow. But even too, you can basically rewrite a creature's memory with enough castings of this spell. And the higher up that you cast it, you basically have this ability to just start slowly chipping away at a creature's past more and more and more. For example, with the base casting of Modify Memory, it allows you to take any memory or any experience within the last 24 hours and make that creature remember 10 minutes of it differently. Just insert a little clip. But then casting the spell up at 6th level or higher, you can change that event to a week ago. 7th level is 30 days, 8th level is a year ago, and 9th level is at any point in that creature's past. You can change entire characters just with this one spell. You can change, honestly, entire kingdoms and campaigns with this one spell. You can do that with any of these spells. All it takes is the right target. And now this is where I really want to get into just how absurd enchantment magic is as a whole. We've gone over some of the basic spells that I think really stand out in regards to this school of magic, and even too showing a bit about how they work and what they do. And now I want to talk about just how ridiculous these sorts of spells are. A lot of the times that a creature is charmed, they don't actually even realize that they're charmed. The way I personally think it happens is that they come back to their senses, and as they're regaining their composure, they look around, they're like, I don't know what came over me, getting little flashes and snippets of what actions they just did. And you might be thinking, yeah, well, I mean, Smiles, they would probably see someone using an enchantment spell on them, right? Maybe. And I think that's probably the scariest part. There are some spells in the game that are worded in such a way that clearly show that a creature will know it is charmed by you. Charm Person is actually a perfect example of this. The Friends cantrip is also another great example of this. But then you take other spells where all of a sudden, it's not that transparent, actually. For example, there's nothing in the spell suggestion that would state that a creature would be able to detect that you were the one who cast suggestion on them. even to something like a sleight of hand check or even a stealth check, or even, too, if you want to go back to that enchantment build video that I made, the subtle spell, Meta Magic, can allow you to hide you casting spells. You can have a character that is just subtly pulling the strings of everyone and everything around them without anyone realizing it. One enchantment practitioner could probably go and dismantle an entire organization if they're smart and if the organization isn't prepared for it. Because honestly, I think that's part of the biggest strength to enchantment magic, is that when you're doing it in such a way where people don't even know that you're doing it. You know, too, I mean, like, going back into, like, the deep dive ethics of everything, necromancy might raise you an army, but enchantment magic could enslave one for you. And I think that's probably the most terrifying aspect that enchantment magic has. But anyways, though, I wanted to bring up this video as sort of a bit of a PSA. As I mentioned before, I did make the recent build video basically all about enchantment magic and how ridiculously powerful I thought enchantment magic was. But I wanted to touch on just the sheer level of harm it could do, as well as a lot of the positive things it could do. Like, I don't really like throwing in things like, oh, this is really bad and we should never use it, and it's a difficult slope. You could use enchantment magic to do a lot of good. You can also use enchantment magic to do a lot of bad. It really all just depends on you, the player. And it's hard to set those morals of, like, how far are you willing to enchant a creature? Like, what are your own limitations that you're putting on yourself when it comes to using your magic on others? How do you, as a character, not give into the temptations of using powers like that for evil? Anyways, though, I've done a lot of rambling. Maybe you'll get something from this video, maybe you won't. All in all, I just wanted to talk about how I think enchantment magic is overlooked in some ways, and I just wanted to provide a little bit more of a deeper dive into how it particularly works, and even to what other things that you could do to, like, really make enchantment magic pop more for your characters. But anyways, though, that is all the time that I have for today. I do hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please leave a like, comment, subscribe for more D&D content. And in the meantime, keep smiling, keep scheming, and I'll see all of you next time.